Good evening, and thank you for joining us here in White Library Special Collections. My name is Curtis Becker, and I want to tell you just a moment about the entity that brings me together with Kerry Moyer. I decided to start a small press. I call it Kellogg Press. And I did this because I love the idea of getting work out into the world, whether it be poetry or it be fiction, short stories. I love the idea of getting more out than is currently out there. And so I started off by working on my own book because I thought if I was going to make mistakes, I would do it on mine so I wasn't messing up someone else's book. And once I got through that process, I started talking to people that I would like to publish, and Kerry was the first person that I went to because we go to a Monday night writers group, and he'd been reading poems, and I really liked the voice that he had. It was authentic voice, and I really didn't want somebody getting in there and changing his voice if he were to get published, and I thought, okay, we need to get together and do something. So we talked quite a bit, and it's a small business, so it took a while to get things going, but about a month ago, we released his book, Dirt Road. A little bit about Kerry. Kerry is he works at Crosswinds. He's a mental health professional. His wife is a fourth grade teacher, right? Yes. And he has two sons. He does a lot of gravel racing. He'll be racing in the DK 100 this year. Also, he is a martial arts instructor and has it's a first degree and a fifth degree black belt in two different disciplines. And I'm speaking off the top of my head, so I'm not going to butcher anything. You can add to, Kerry, if you want to. He's just a Renaissance guy. He is involved in works with leather. He's a musician, and he's a great guy to know. And so, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to the black belt poet, Kerry Moyer.
Hello. Thank you for all that. So this is my book, Dirt Road. It's got a little bit of this and a little bit of that in it, I guess. So I wasn't sure what I was going to read today, so I'm going to just pull out a few. I guess we need to read for about 15 minutes, so I'll try to keep it to that. So I guess we'll start with, this one's short. I kind of like it. I was thinking about how when I was younger I used to hang out in my grandparents' driveway and stargaze. So I called this I Drift. Gazing up, brilliant blackened sky, stretching out over God's vast expanse, stars like silver pins, like drops of glitter above wandering, twinkling eyes. Reaching up, fingertips tracing the spaces between those heavenly places. Slow celestial caress until arms tire and I drift. Eyelids falling, sleep gently calling, lying in cool, dewy grass, covered in the soft glow of a silver moon. Okay. All right, so this is called Old Bones. There's some old family folklore about a human femur that was found under my great-grandparents' house once. So anyway, Old Bones. Eugene pulled out his pipe, pushed dark brown tobacco into the bowl, and struck a wooden red-tipped match with shaky, soiled hands. Gray puffs of smoke danced a ghostly dance around a single glowing lamp. Wiping his brow with a yellow handkerchief, his eyes fell to the bucket sitting by his side, took another pull from his favorite pipe, and asked Willie Miles what they should do with the thing in the bucket resting by Eugene's brown leather boot. Do we call the law or just talk to the preacher? Eugene sat and waited, eager for an answer, pipe smoke collecting like gray clouds on the ceiling. Willie Miles would have no lawman snooping around his place. Running shine in Missouri when he was young taught him that no good comes from talking to the law or pert near anyone, and finding a human bone under your home, well, that sort of thing was best kept from everyone. Willie took a bite of biscuit, chased it down with black coffee from his steel cup, and with a sigh began to speak. No telling how it got there, Gene, and no sense in making a ruckus. Now you take that there bone, put it back where you found it, cover it up and don't tell Edna, or anyone who might want to hear it. She gets all anxious, and Miles' business is no one's to know. Anyhow, nothing under heaven is worth the fuss that she'll make over that thing you found in the ground under this here house. Willie pulled rolling paper from his pocket and prepared to roll a smoke, turning from Eugene and leaving the whole of it with his empty cup and biscuit crumbs. So Eugene rose from his chair, and back to the crawl space he went, with the old leg bone sitting in the bucket, gripped firmly in his shaky, soiled hand. The old bone Eugene found was placed back into the space it was found. The plumbing got fixed, and it was never spoken of again. All right, so this next one's called Boyhood Things. This one has a little bit of Kevin Ravis influence here. He's like, if you're going to write about nostalgia, you need to make sure to jazz it up with something a little more compelling than just feel-good stuff, or something along those lines. And I was like, okay. So I thought about that, and I wrote this. So Boyhood Things. When I was a boy, Saturdays were spent in play and simple things. Fall brought new colors to changing green. The road in front of my home ran left to an apple orchard, where friends and I fought the Second World War, diving behind trees, fiercely fighting Germans or Japanese like our grandfathers 40 years before, in places far from here, with stories too hard for innocent ears. When apples fell, peace was found, toy rifles silenced for golden fruit scattered about. We would eat our fill until mothers called or the setting sun was seen, casting long shadows through the canopy of autumn leaves. Going right, the road curved. The park we'd always known, a place for boys to go. We jumped over things, raced, found spry rabbits to chase, waved at girls on swings, fought over boyhood things. Brutal blows thrown, blood drawn red, split lips, battered grins, savage hearts shown. Giddy girls giggled, gasped, and groaned. We walked railroad tracks that crossed a rusting trestle bridge. Train whistle screamed, starting gun, 100-yard span to run. Steel wheels thundered, ballast shook, rails rattled under roaring weight. When we reached the other side, missile train would roar on by. Our nervous laughter, shaky hands, showed those who dared and won again. Above a calico tree line, green dinosaurs smiled bright. Sinclair lights shined. My friends and I took meager pay for raking Falls remains, pulled silver coin from denim pockets to spend on orange soda in cold glass bottles. And another season passed. We sat, told stories, laughed in childhood's fading light, surrounded by the places, spaces where we grew, and everything we knew was Kansas.
Got it.
5 minutes? Okay. Okay, so I was thinking about materialism and how we tend to collect a lot of stuff that we don't need. So I wrote this, and it's called Stuff. Throw all the stuff away from your thoughts and spaces. Throw the things away. Leave them in some hidden place where you can't find them. Stuff we accumulate that buries us in debt and sweat, chasing, caging us, all the plastic and metal, all the bling bling chattel. Burn the damn debris. Bury the beautifully bound boxes that hold our fat red pumping hearts, 6 feet deep in the clearance aisle. Run from the piles of things that would own you, crush you under a purchased pile of nothing. Okay. So this one is also another one that has a little bit of Kevin influence. Since you're here, this is about a conversation I had with my mother when I was young. It's called Michael Kevin. Why did Michael Kevin die? Mother looks into her green coffee cup, the black liquid in gentle motion, her eyes deep and dark. Gazing, I ask again, why did he die? Mother looks up, dark eyes in gentle motion. Her mouth starts to move, stops, then a sigh. Lifts her face to meet mine, shoulders drawn back, she speaks. He was too small, he came too soon. Mother goes back to her cup. I shift in my seat, reach for her left hand resting on the table. Mother? She looks up and her eyes are wet. I never even got to hold him, he just... Her words drift and float down, settling into the inky black. Lifting her cup, stopping it inches from her lips. Setting it down without drinking, Mother rises and speaks. He went to heaven. The words trail behind her as she leaves the room. The lukewarm green cup of coffee sits half empty on the dining room table. Okay, so I do gravel cycling, and I'm going to read one about cycling. So it's called The Windmill. There is an old rusted windmill not far from a tree line. Wood and steel sitting back a ways from the road. A small pond sits 100 yards east of it. Limestone rocks make a square, telling of a structure that had lived there. Bringing the bike to a slow stop, I unclip my feet from where they sat, placing them firmly on the dusty gravel road. Pulling my bottle from the frame, I squeeze a cool drink, thinking, who lived there? Children in the front yard, running around the white-painted farmhouse, a haggard-looking woman holding a fussy baby, tangled brown hair with strands of gray, long and falling onto shoulders, covered by the gown her grandmother made for her. Or was it a wedding gift? A man in worn and dusty overalls, smoking a pipe, whittling on a small gnarled stick, resting in the evening quiet, watching his children play from a porch he built, his skin dark from working under the sun, setting behind the windmill. The same sun that sat behind it before, rust made a home upon its blades. I imagine there was a dog that ran around the place, giving chase to things before folks on gravel bikes gave them something new to do. I pull another drink from the bottle, my thoughts giving life to a place taken by time, eroded by wind that still makes rusted blades turn, till the same wind brings it down to the waiting tall grass and weeds on the ground below. Then who will wonder, who will know, any lives ever lived with nothing left to show? Beginning to roll, I clip back in, bringing me back to the road ahead, leaving my thoughts and the rusted windmill behind. You good? Okay, so that's a few selections from Dirt Road, and I'm going to introduce Curtis Becker, and I'm going to get the title right. He's an instructor in the EMLJ department here at Emporia State. He gets to get bossed around by Kevin here every once in a while. So I'm seriously great guy, talented writer in his own right. Took a chance on publishing a book for me, and I'm guessing I'll be one of a few, hopefully one of many. Please welcome Curtis.
Thank you, Kerry. Like Kerry, I kind of have an idea of what I want to read, but at the same time, I have no idea what I want to read. So I'm going to kind of take it just how the evening pulls me. And right now, I'm feeling like reading some newer things. I have my book, and I'll probably read a few things out of it. But I also have some newer things that I've written, and so I'm going to start. I'm going to start with this one that's called "Overheard." I don't think I've read this one before. Awkward silence, murmurs of discontent, fame fleeting, faces hidden in shame by ink. Off your meds, scared of the world, and an intervention. Peace comes from death by police. You tell your friends. Losing your shit in the middle of the street. A hot mess melting down before building up. A new beginning, cathartic. The rage escapes through tears and wails. An ugly cry. Life is new. Like I said, that one's called Overheard, and one thing I like to do sometimes is when I'm sitting in a crowded room with a lot of people talking, I generally like to just overhear the things that they're saying, and there was this wild conversation going on 2 or 3 seats over from where I was seated, and I just started making notes about just some phrases that I heard and kind of pieced together a story. So I don't know what they were really up to or what they were talking about, but those were the things that I picked up. This one I have read at least once or twice. This one's called Pianos. A few months ago, we helped a friend move, and the hardest part of the whole move was moving her piano. There's actually been more than one poem written about this particular piano. I know that Professor Webb wrote one about the chicken bone that was found in the piano. Anyway, this is my take on pianos in general. Pianos should sing, but mostly they are forced to hum in the background as violins screech, as clarinets honk, or when children forget the words to Frosty the Snowman. The first thing to know if you're ever going to move a piano is don't. My dad told me about pianos one time. He moved a piano or two with his brother. The center of gravity of a piano is just right for something that shouldn't be lifted. Better to drop pianos from the sides of tall buildings, from a rope that may not be secure, in a cartoon like an anvil. Splat. People get mad if you scratch pianos, get them out of tune, or break a soundboard. It's easier to sacrifice a limb, or back, or friend. I once knew a magnificent piano that sang beautiful tunes. From the choir loft of the church, its voice echoed. The loft piano was grand, black as its ebony keys. You could see your face in its cover, and you imagined for a moment your face was the face of God, backlit by ornate architecture. Its voice was the voice of angels ascending to on high with prayers of the masses. The loft piano didn't move until the church closed. I wouldn't have moved it or dropped it. I would have left it until its regal red podium gave way, a throne halfway to heaven. The teeth of a chainsaw tore into the gleaming black skin. The keys disbanded, the voice died. These people knew that you never move a piano. Nobody bothered to clean the sawdust from the red carpeted platform. If you do move a piano, turn it on its side. Use a blanket to cut down on scars. Check for stray items like chicken bones, memories, songs, notes, a voice. I'm kind of feeling the new stuff today, so we'll do another one. Some of you probably heard this one. I call this one Sonnet 18, The Breakup, and it's a response to Shakespeare's Sonnet 18, which most people know, Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day? And so this is kind of what happened after this love that we thought was unending started to fizzle and to fade. Shall I compare thee to a summer's eve? Thou art less lovely and less temperate. The dog star, Sirius, may never leave, as August and eternity do date. Always too hot the eye of heaven shines, as children, dogs, and parking lots do melt. The air is humid, heat never declines. The din of biting, itchy bugs is felt. Unlike the eve, you will not fade tonight. Your suffocating nature will not wane. The winds of fall and hurtful words do bite. The sting of slings and arrows doth remain. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this and gives life to thee. I'm going to do one more new one and then I'll jump into the book here. Okay. This one is called Snakes on the Plains. And plains is spelled Plains. Snakes on the Plains. The snakes on the plains, watching. The snakes on the plains, aware of the 4 furry paws, aware of the 2 delicate feet, aware of a boy barely old enough to spell his own name, his life precious to Mom, to Dad, and to Charlie, his foolish friend. The dog waded into the deep, majestically. The boy, emboldened by success, followed. His feet, fragile, soft, delicate, exposed. The rusty tractor stood, sentinel, on the sea of green. The tired old barn sighed as the duo came and went. The old oaks watched patiently as the barn cats toyed with a mouse lazily. Its delicate feet and body to become quickly the clouder's next treat. A boy's favorite thing is to go where he has never gone before, into the sea triumphantly, on an adventure fabulously, pressing his limits constantly, losing himself in his best friend, always, and becoming a man, suddenly, with each rite of passage. Sometimes men swim with sharks, courageously, and come out unscathed, amazingly. Not because they should, sometimes they just do. All right, we're going to go to some of the ones that you may have heard me read before. I do have some short fiction in my book. I don't think I'm going to read any of them tonight, but I'm going to stick with the poems. The first one I'm going to read is a poem that I wrote in honor of William Allen White's 150th birthday, and I thought since we're in White Library, I should read this. As many of you know, White was referred to as the Sage of Emporia. And this poem is called The Sage of Emporia 2018. On Commercial Street, at the China Dragon, you will make a change for the better within the year. The great aim of education is not knowledge, but action. A great pleasure in life is doing what others say you can't. Big things coming in future, only matter of time. Lucky numbers, 3, 7, 10, 18. Mixed with rice, bamboo shoots, and egg drop soup. All right, I'm going to do a couple more here. This one I call a real love poem. And when I wrote this one, I read a lot of poems that were these fantastic looks at love, and sometimes I think there's more of a real life component to it. So this kind of captures how that kind of moves within a short amount of time. A real love poem. The incessant wailing of the alarm, a plain of frozen tundra, my feet want to retreat back to the warm cocoon. Morning, coffee, where? I must jumpstart my brain. So much depends upon synapses fire, neural networks form, information flows a path, more paths, they cross. I need to remember to go, but whatever it was in the back of my refrigerator went bad. Gross. Is my appointment at 3:15 or our bodies were tangled as the air of the summer night hung heavy, sweat lubricated and became sticky at the same time. Our bodies were now, wait, was I supposed to stop at the store for cheese? Your appointment is at 3:15, I think. Brain overloaded, reset, back to you and to us as one. All right, my last poem I'm going to read is a poem that when I wrote it, I really didn't like it. And a lot of my audience liked it. I actually sent it off, and it was published in Bards Against Hunger 5th Anniversary Edition. Thanks to Kevin, gave me a good place to send some poems. But anyway, as time has gone on, I've grown to like this poem. But I was slow in coming to it. I just kind of written it on a lark, and I really didn't think it was going to go anywhere from there. But it's become one that gets requested quite a bit. So I'm going to finish with my childhood teddy bear. My childhood teddy bear now sits in a rocking chair, unassuming, his look austere. I feel bad about his matted hair. Is it love if it hurts you? I wonder aloud. He is stoic in his refusal to respond. Some of my friends ask why. Why do you keep that old bear? The one with a missing clump of hair. The one resting upon the rocking chair. Loyalty, friendship, and security? Innocence lost? I used to care that you might find out about my bear. That old austere lump of hair slouching in that old rocking chair. That bear has a tattoo of grape jelly on his left ass cheek. That missing eye makes him look B.A. I should have found him a pirate patch. Mr. Bear, did Mike Tyson get a hold of your ear? Stoic. The survivor of my love slumps over the rail of my rocking chair. I do not see his pain. My 5-year-old eyes see a bear in good repair, with nary a tear, and all of his hair. There's no despair. Thank you, Grandma, for giving me my teddy bear. I want to thank everyone for coming this evening. I want to thank Rebecca and Special Collections for helping us to set this up. Special Collections has a lot of great events coming up. So watch the Hornet announcements if you're getting those. I know that on the 1st, the Emporia Writers Group will be performing. We'll be doing some pieces that will have a twist or a trick at the end. And then coming up in April, I know one of my favorite singers, Lisa Moritz, will be here, and she'll be having an open mic. I don't know what day that is. And I probably shouldn't have said anything because I have no idea what day it is. But
March 29th.
oh, is that March 29th? Oh my gosh. Okay, so it's coming up. So you've got to get here for both of those events. If by chance you'd like to purchase a copy of my book or a copy of Kerry's book, I do have some in the back. I'll be happy to sell them to you. They're $12 a piece. Don't feel obligated. I know many of you already have copies of them. We just brought them. In case, if down the road you want to buy one, I would highly recommend Ellen Plum's City Bookstore, or you can go to ellenplums.com and you can order books just like you do on Amazon, except the money stays here in Emporia, which is really awesome and keeps a bookstore where we get to do a lot of events. So buy all your books over at Ellen Plum's. Like I said, thank you, Rebecca. Thank you all for coming, and have a wonderful evening.